Reading the early portion of Genesis can lead to many interesting questions. Today, I will explain one such question. The book of Genesis, for example, tells us that Adam and Eve had two sons, Cain and Abel. After Cain kills Abel and settles in the land of Nod, we read that Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch, Genesis 4:17. But where did this unnamed woman who marries in the land of Nod come from? This question has puzzled many generations. As we know, Adam, Eve, and their sons were the only humans the Bible mentions at this stage. Therefore, the sudden appearance of Cain's wife has troubled readers from ancient times to the present. This question has repeatedly come up in rhetoric against biblical inerrancy since the Enlightenment. This question even came up in the Scopes trial in 1925, an American legal case from July 10 to July 21, 1925. This case concerns John T. Scopes, a high school teacher accused of violating Tennessee's Butler Act, which had prohibited teaching human evolution in any state-funded school. The trial attracted public attention and high-profile lawyers representing each side. William Jennings Bryan, a three-time presidential candidate and former Secretary of State, argued for the prosecution, while Clarence Darrow served as the defense attorney for Scopes. Scopes was found guilty. The court fined Scopes $100 but overturned the verdict on a technicality. Clarence Darrow asked his opponent, William Jennings Bryan, "Did you ever discover where Cain got his wife?" to question the Bible's historical reliability during the trial. This question has puzzled the readers of the Bible. Historically, we find various attempts to solve this issue. This video will survey the early Christian and Jewish attempts to solve the problem. The earlier Christian and Jewish readers, for example, point to Genesis 5:4, which states that Adam had other sons and daughters. They argue that Cain's wife was his sister or his niece. In the early days of humanity, conservative scholars implied that marriage between brothers and sisters was necessary. Intermarriage with siblings, like our generation, posed a moral problem for ancient readers as well. They tried to clarify their position pragmatically. They argued that marriage between brothers and sisters was permissible at the beginning of the human race due to the lack of prospective matches. Didymus of Alexandria explains that Cain's marriage was allowed out of necessity, and it would have been incest only if other women had existed at the time. John Chrysostom confirms that Cain married his sister and explains that Scripture does not list the sisters, especially to avoid excessive detail. Similarly, Theodoret of Cyrus states that Cain's marriage to his sister was only natural since, at that time, this was not an offense. There was no law forbidding it, especially since there was no other way to provide for the increase of the race. As noted, most Christian sources argue that Cain married one of the descendants of Adam and Eve. St. Augustine, in his book City of God, clarifies further, the human race, subsequently to the first marriage of the man whom God made out of the dust, and his wife who was made out of the first man's side, required the union of males and females so that it might multiply, and as there were no human beings except those who had been born of these two, men took their sisters for wives, an act which was as certainly dictated by necessity in these ancient days. Renowned biblical commentator Adam Clarke, who lived in the 19th century, approached this question from another angle. Depending on Genesis 4:14, he asks if Adam, Eve and Cain are the only people yet living on the earth, why is Cain afraid that anyone who meets Cain may kill him? Who is out there at the moment to threaten him? Clarke speculates that Cain's fear might have emerged because several generations of Adam's descendants already existed enough to found several villages. From there, Clarke suggested that Cain might have married his sister or one of the descendants of Adam and Eve. Some ancient Jewish writers also note that Adam and Eve had daughters early on. The Book of Jubilees, a 2nd century BC Jewish composition, retells the Genesis narratives, though not canonical, calls Eve's daughter Ravan. The Jubilees mention that Cain took his sister Ravan as his wife. The book also says that Seth, the third son of Adam and Eve, married his sister Zerah. Hence, there are well-accepted hypotheses among the Jews and early church fathers that Cain and Seth might have married the descendants of Adam and Eve. There are also alternative proposals emerging from different hermeneutical perspectives. We will discuss this in another video.